Now, it's time for the Anchormen podcast with Matt Gaetz.
Welcome back to the Anchormen podcast. I'm Matt Gaetz, host of the Matt Gaetz Show here on One America News. Every weeknight, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 Pacific, and we are so excited about the coverage we have on the Trump administration, the Pentagon, and all of the added distribution that we have. Many of you are watching on YouTube TV. Some of you may not even know that One America News is now available on YouTube TV, so make sure you set your preferences. Join us for the conversation, and always remember the holidays are here. It's a great time to celebrate family, freedom, and all the blessings we enjoy as Americans, but it is also a time when germs are spreading, and to go against those, we've got all the tools available for you at All Family Pharmacy. You go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Matt, use code MATT10. They have ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, menbenzidol, all of your daily maintenance medications, vitamins. I travel all the time, and I'm on the road, so I love the travel kit. And once approved, your medication will ship right to your home. They've got you covered once the physician that they connect you with ensures that you've got that prescription. You'll get it right to your door. So visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Matt. Save 10% with code MATT10 today. So I am so excited about the conversation we're going to have. We'll talk a little bit about family, a lot about politics, what's going on here in Washington, D.C. Terry Schilling is the lead of the American Principles Project here in Washington, a good friend of mine. And Terry, here's why I wanted you on today, okay? As you know, I've got a 4-month-old, baby Lucky, and what I've learned is there's like a certain level of tired as a parent that you just never get past. And, you know, I sit there, you know, you do the diapers, you do all the little milestones you're supposed to hit. And every time I start to feel sorry for myself and think, man, you've really been doing a lot today, I think about the, like, gajillion children you have. What number are you on now?
So we're at 7, but we have number 8 coming in March.
Number 8 on the way. Yep. Already past 3-on-3 in the half court.
Yes,
and
sir.
And so whenever I think, you know, that I might be a little tired, I think you got that big a group. You know, in all seriousness, I know a lot of parents who at times feel overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. They think, this was just not a job I can do. And what advice do you give as somebody who's got 7 of them?
Well, first of all, if you're young, start young, right? And I mean that. Like, I would try and find the woman that you want to marry in your early 20s. If you can do that, like, you hit the lottery. When you're younger, in your early 20s, you have so much energy, right? And you think about your college days, the hangovers aren't that bad. Well, like, that energy and that level that you had during college, that's meant to be applied towards work and producing and having a family. It's not meant to, like, be getting trashed and hung over every day, which I participated in college. But it's all about getting married young and early, because, like, the longer you go without having a family and kids, the harder it is to adjust, right? It's like George Gilder. He wrote this amazing book called Men in Marriage, and he basically argued that unmarried men are a scourge to society. They commit like 95% of all violent crimes. They don't make as much money, and that marriage civilizes them because it gives them a purpose. But he told me once, we had dinner, and he said it's best to get married young because it's like 2 trees growing together. And if you both get married later in life, you have to, like, merge those trees together, and it's much tougher because you've, like, set in your ways. But look, it's all worth it. Like, it's tough. You're in the battle. You're in the thick of it. My wife and I, like, every time we get pregnant and we have a new baby on the way, it's like we look at ourselves and we're like, we just pressed the freaking reset button. You know, because then you got the diapers again, then you got the feeding schedules again, then you got, like, the sleeping and all the craziness. But you know what?
Do you do, like, a joint effort on that? Does your wife do that? Do you get extra help? I mean, because, like, you know, right now, me and my wife, we leverage our family, friends, neighbors. Everyone just kind of pitches in when there's a shift to pick up. But how does it work in your family?
Well, so unfortunately, we don't have, like, my parents aren't here, her parents are in Boston, but we have 7 older children, that can help us. I have a 20-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old. Actually, he's just turned 11. But when they turn, 7 years old, that's when they transition from being liabilities into being assets. And you can put them to work. You can reward them. And
I was a liability way later for my parents. I can assure you that age 7, my parents would definitely say they would take the over on age of liability. But But that is interesting because I wonder how that shapes even their own experience. It's probably going to make them great parents and people who understand and appreciate family.
Well, a friend of mine told me when I think we had our third or fourth kid at the time, and he goes, the key is, because your kids are still young, you don't want to be like running a hotel. Right? Your house is not some place for these kids just to sleep when they're not in school. You're running a household. You're running a family. And everyone has duties. Everyone has responsibilities. You got to reward them. You can't just be like a slave laborer. You got to take them to 7-Eleven. You got to get them movies. You got to go to Five Guys every now and then or McDonald's. But if you do it right with the rewards and the duties and all of that, you create this like ecosystem. And one really cool thing that I've discovered is that each kid is actually easier because I don't have to explain the rules to the youngest one anymore. The older kids enforce it. Kids love
like
hierarchies. It's like a gang. And they all outrank the next one, right? So like the eldest is in charge, and when she's there, no one messes, well, they might mess with her, but they're going to learn a lesson, right? And so they enforce the rules on down. And so like once you've established the culture and the ecosystem, it kind of perpetuates, and it's a really beautiful thing. Now you have to maintain it. You can't let things go out of control.
The opposite is true also, right? I mean, we see so much research about how violence, abuse, neglect, those things can be passed along as well. And we actually probably see more of that than what you just described.
Yes.
It's quite hopeful to think that actually if you create the right culture in your family, that is a intergenerationally durable thing. We don't see a lot of those anymore in human existence, and it's like kind of one of the things that's left.
Well, I think one thing that gets mixed up and missed with the whole like race argument in America, the hyper obsession from the left is like, yeah, like there's a lot of crime in the black community, and there's a lot of violence. They got a lot of problems, but it's not because of their race. It's because they don't have dads in the picture, right? Like it's not. If you look at the rates of violence, the income levels, the educational attainment, it's not based off of race at all. It's actually based off of whether or not you have a father in the home, whether or not your family goes to church on Sunday. The social science on family and how that impacts children and their outcomes is very boring. You talk to any like honest sociologist, they will tell you like, okay, the kids with 2 married parents that go to church on Sunday, they get the best grades, they have the lowest suicide rates, they use the least amount of drugs, they make the most money. And the kids on the bottom end of the spectrum are the ones without 2 married parents that they don't go to church on Sunday. The interesting thing is the groups that of married parents that don't go to church on Sunday, that fluctuates in terms of outcomes depending on the cycle with the parents that aren't married that do go to church on Sunday. But the best possible outcome to have in America, like if you're an American, you're born here, you hit the lottery. If you're born with 2 intact parents who take you to church on Sunday and still good values in you, you hit the lottery again, which is just crazy. The worst situation you can have is no dad, because dads teach you a lot. They teach you sacrifice, they teach you purpose, they teach you limits, right? Like there was actually a really cool study by these libertarians at Reason Magazine, and they showed that it wasn't mothers who instilled empathy into their children, it was dads. And you would think, well, mothers care so much about their kids, that's where they see it. No. Dads are more selfish. Like, they're more like, you broke my $400 drill? You know how hard I had to work to get that? Like, they force the kids to think about other people. You learn so much from your dad, and when you don't have that, you're really handicapped in a lot of it. It's not saying that you can't overcome it, but that's the real crisis America has. That's why we have a lot of crime. That's why we have so much disorder and chaos and fentanyl overdoses is these kids are growing up without dads. And they're getting and if they do have parents, both parents, they're getting influenced by a lot of these other kids that don't have parents.
I know. I see some of these. I hear what you're saying. I believe the data. I see some of these dads, and I just think, what? Like, they seem ill-equipped at times. But I guess Mother Nature instills in us enough. I wanted to ask you about this ecosystem of rewards and consequences, because I think that curating that is really hard for a lot of parents. I've seen the overindulgers, right, where every small victory is treated as if it's like winning the Miss Universe pageant, and then I've also seen times where there isn't anyone who cares one way or the other, where you get good grades or bad, and the lack of that positive reinforcement can also be a downward driver on success in the future. And so Some tools people have talked about, like, do you pay kids for grades? Like, I get that question. I know parents who say that's great. Give $10 for an A, $5 for a B. Others that would say, no. Like, they have to get to the point where that is something that they innately want to do, and until you've nurtured that, you're not there. So, how does like the Schilling family go about giving out the rewards and the nurturing alongside those critical limits that you have to have?
Well, so this was part of establishing the ecosystem with rules and getting them used to duties and responsibilities. When my son Bobby was born, so he's number 3. When he was born, I instituted what we call Dadder Day. And every Saturday, we would clean the house as a family. And if we all did that before noon or 10 or whatever, we'd get donuts, we'd go to the movies, we'd go to 7-Eleven, we'd go to Five Guys, right? And as time has gone on, I've put more responsibility on the kids. So like the older ones now are like the managers, and they're ultimately in charge and responsible for making sure the house gets clean. If the younger kids don't help out, they don't get to participate in Dadder Day. So I get a report from Reagan, my 14-year-old, who's my eldest is in college. So the 14-year-old says, "Hey, Max didn't help, Peter didn't help, Bobby was really good."
Wow, you have an HR department.
It's an HR department, but they also learn how to manage, because Reagan knows that if she goes too hard, and then I go to Bobby or Max and she says they weren't helping, and they say, "Well, Reagan was hitting us," or "Reagan wasn't being nice." Oh, well, Reagan, now you're in trouble.
Oversight.
Yeah. And then Reagan has to get more of the work done herself. So, like, it teaches them proper management. It teaches them, like, push and pull. But, like, you start with the duties and then they get rewards. And if they don't clean the house, well, we're not going to Five Guys, or we're not going to McDonald's, or we're not, going to 7-Eleven. Like, you don't get those privileges and those rewards. I don't believe in paying for grades, right? Like, I just work with my kids a lot. Like, I actually help with the homework. I monitor the grades with my wife, Katie. And I help them do that. Like, I'm relearning
There's so
math.
much transparency with the grades now.
Yes.
Like, I mean, before, like when we were growing up, I mean, you got like a midterm
report.
Yeah. If you got a little soft on the grades after the midterm, you had time. Now there's like real time. You can get right on it and monitor it. And probably anything that draws parents into the experience more is probably good.
Yeah, no, 100%. We like it. I think women do a really good job of like monitoring the kids, because they want the intel. They want to know if their kids are struggling. And like the thing is, we just put Reagan in this new school. She's in high school now. She goes to a really nice like all girls Catholic school in Virginia, and she's been struggling, but she's been getting great grades. But it's super difficult. So I've been having these like real conversations with her of like, struggling is good, actually. Like, if you're struggling, that means you're growing. That means you're learning. That means you're, like, developing skills. And, by the way, like, you're a freshman in high school. It gets way tougher after this. Like, it keeps getting worse. So if you can't figure out freshman year in high school, you're in for a long road. So let's figure this out. I can help you. So I'm just, like, I am involved. Like, I have these, I carve out a lot of one-on-one time, right? And it's not always, like,
A lot of dads who watch this won't be able to do that, because they'll say, "Look, I mean, we're in this era where my housing is so expensive, where the energy bill is something that tends to come every month. Mortgage rates rose under Joe Biden extensively, and I mean that one-on-one time comes at a financial cost. Is there a way with quality time you can make up for the increasing pressures on American dads in their life?"
100%. So my dad shared, I was lamenting this to my dad because I was on the road all the time, fundraising and doing media events and rallies. And I was like, "Dad, I came back from this last trip and Reagan's like turning into like a young lady. And I'm like seeing these kids grow and I'm not there." And he goes, "Take them with. Like, take him to work. Like, what, you think your donors are going to be upset if you bring him to work?" And then he's like, but also, because that's what he did with me. Like, he had a family pizza restaurant. I'd go into work with him. That's how we really spent a lot of time together. We'd work on cart. It's also about, like, finding out, like, we all have hobbies. Like, we're not working all the time. We might, like, go golfing. So if you're working all the time, you're going to take some rest time. Or you're going to take some time for yourself where you're, like, fishing or golfing or whatever. Bring your kids into that. Like, teach them the joy of fishing or golfing or basketball. Like, figure out what you can share with them and bring them along. And by the way, you don't need hours and hours and hours. you need like 5 minutes going to 7-Eleven or going to the Quickie Mart to say like, hey, how are things going? Everything's all right? Just you and them. One-on-one, so you have like the group time as a family, but the one-on-one time is super special. Because like sometimes it's just...
That's tough when you got 6 of them.
Well, and you got to be careful about not playing favorites. Right, because like I'm very sensitive to that. Because I got a lot of kids, and I don't want to spend too much time with one and not enough with the other. So I'm always like trying to round it out, and I'm not always perfect, but I make up for it. But yeah, it's
what's
tough.
The hardest part?
The hardest part?
Yeah, I mean, is it when they have heartbreak, when they have illness, when they fail? What is it where you're just like, oh man, this is tough?
It's watching them struggle. Mm-hmm. It's watching them.
But you just said that was good.
I know it's good, but it still hurts you because you know it's fresh. Like I keep telling my daughter Reagan, she's struggling with this homework. It is higher level. It's a tough. They don't do grade inflation at the school. So like if she is getting a C, it's actually a C. Or like they're not giving you an A if you're actually getting C's. And I see her struggling, and it hurts me because I remember how tough it is. And I remember how hard it was for me. But I know that ultimately it's good for. It's like anything, like you see a kid fall on their bike. Well, they got to learn how to ride the bike, and scraping your knees is part of that. So it sucks. You want to like make sure they feel comfortable and know that the scrape knees is just part of it. But yeah, seeing them struggle, seeing them like go through challenges.
Well, like when you've got the infant, like anything that could potentially be wrong with them, because they're so frail. It's like a Fabergé egg in your mind, especially just
that's right.
Maybe that's a new parent thing.
That's a new parent thing.
But when you're got a newborn around for the first time, you're like, oh man, keep it. And the notion that anything could be wrong with the baby. I mean, I think about all the time, parents who have young children with challenges, and man, that's got to call on God in those folks' lives incredibly. I want to get to your work here on Capitol Hill because it really is to create a country where more people can have that great American family life. Talk a little bit about the American Principles Project and the core mission there and how you fit into it.
Well, we've been on the forefront of the Democrats' 21st century cultural war against our kids and our parents, right, and the families. We've been mostly fighting the whole transgender issue where they're pushing this ideology in schools through the classes, but also like the surgeries and the hormone treatments they're getting kids. We've done great work. We've gotten 27 states to ban men and girls sports. We've gotten 27 states to ban these gender transition procedures for minors. We still have a lot more work to do. We have to get this stuff done nationally. The Democrats are so vulnerable. And I mean, the polling is getting worse for them. Like, in the initial days...
On the trans issue.
100%.
It just got so weird.
It's so weird. Like, everyone's like... Basically where America's at is like, okay, if you're gay, great, we don't care, but leave my kids alone. Don't trans my kids. Don't push an ideology on them. Don't
straight my kids either. Like,
yeah,
I just figured,
leave them alone.
let them do their thing, man.
That's it.
And it also felt like how you approach the trans issue became this litmus test as to whether or not the left viewed you as an accepting person.
Yes.
And that like anything less than wanting a drag brunch in your kid's like school library was deemed hateful. And a lot of just like regular people, especially I think a lot of African American and Hispanic men who had for almost all their lives voted Democrat were like, whoa.
Yes.
To sign up for the Democrat thing, I got to have some guy in my girls' locker room? No. I got to watch some guy go out and be on the girls' sports team? No. You're going to try to tell my son that the nurse at the school can give him gender blockers?
Yep.
You in some states in the Pacific Northwest, you're going to tell me as a parent, if I don't agree to the gender blockers, that I terminate my parental rights to the state? And a bunch of those folks who maybe don't agree with Rand Paul on what the marginal tax rate should be. We're just like, I'm with the red team now. And I kind of think we've got them until we do something crazy, which we haven't.
Yeah. Well, so I agree with that. But what I'm really concerned about, so like, I've always viewed the trans issue as like a gateway issue for a lot of people, for a lot of normie Democrats.
No, totally.
It's like, wait, they want to put boys and girls sports? They want to give kids sex change stuff? Like, what? And it gets them to sort of thinking, like, if they're wrong about this, like, what could they possibly be right on?
Well, and not only wrong, like so seriously wrong.
So bad.
Right? I mean, I think that you look at the Republican Party and how we've gone through this confrontation on the abortion issue, and I've talked to some, I would say, pro-life maximalists on this platform, and I still think the way Republicans have reacted to public sentiment about that has been from a place of trying to understand, trying to show compassion, build a culture where life and family is more accepted holistically. And you compare that to the way Democrats are reacting to voters aligning with our viewpoint on the trans issue, and it's one of like recalcitrance. You know, other than maybe Gavin Newsom, who seems to be getting the drift, the rest of the lot seem to still be kind of all in on it.
No, they are, and it's a great point in the differences between the Republicans and Democrats, because look at 2022, right? Overturning Roe v. Wade with the Dobbs decision. We didn't even lose. Like, we just got a red trickle instead of a red wave. And Republicans immediately started, like, backtracking and figuring out how to moderate on the federal level. Democrats got their butts kicked with Kamala Harris, lost the presidency over it. Like, literally lost the presidency over this issue, and they're not backing away. They're not retreating. They're regrouping right now. Like, they're trying to figure out...
Is this stuff still happening? That's really what I wanted to know. I mean, I know there have been these executive orders and lawsuits and different state laws. How's that practically playing out in a children's hospital in random somewhere in America?
So the basically, when President Trump he's done several executive orders. He's been fantastic on this. These hospitals will announce that their programs are closing or they're sunsetting. So it's still happening. Like, they're basically saying the kids that are currently in the program, we're going to keep doing it. But you can't trust these people because they give sex change procedures to kids, right? These are the most untrustworthy people ever, because they tell these parents, if we don't give your kid a sex change, they're going to commit suicide. Like, think about how evil of a thing, that's like the most worst thing you could possibly imagine as a parent.
And look, I am sympathetic to any parent that has to grapple with a confrontation like that with their child. But Terry, if I'd have gone to my dad at age like 12 and been like, Dad, here's the deal. I'm having a sex change or I'm going to kill myself, my dad would be like, well, son, we really hope you don't do that, but we'll miss you.
No.
I mean, my dad wouldn't have been like, well, then we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
He would have said, well, your mother and I never want to see you kill yourself, but we're not going to give you a sex change operation.
Yeah. I was a problematic kid, and like there was one time where I was like, I just might kill myself, in front of my parents, and my dad like took it very seriously. He says, what did you say? And he like asked me, well, how would you do it? Because he wanted to find out if I'd actually considered it, and I hadn't actually. It was just like me being a little. But he said, if you ever joke about that, if you ever say anything like that again, we're going to the hospital and we're going to check you into the psych ward. I never said that again.
No.
Right? Like, his teenagers are jerks. Like, they're dumb.
Well,
they're brats.
and seeking limits, right?
Yeah.
Because through adolescence, I think a lot of people are trying to figure out where they fit in life.
Yeah.
And it's really challenging enough as it is. And then to throw this like new layer of, well, if things are uncomfortable, if things aren't going well, maybe the explanation for it all is just that you're in the wrong body.
Yes.
And that's like, it's so deeply cruel to try to convince people that something is so wrong with them that they might be in the wrong body, rather than doing what we can to celebrate people. If folks have unique abilities or unique challenges, that's what humanity works through in a compassionate way.
Well, what happened to Born This Way?
Right.
We're born this way. Look, well, you weren't born that way.
No.
You know, you don't need these surgeries. What I will tell you, what I'm mostly concerned about with like everything that we're seeing in the last month and a half with these elections and with just the political momentum in this country is these issues are still popular. They still work, but I'm worried about a redo of the 2006 election, right? And if you remember there, Republicans were in deep trouble. Iraq was going poorly. Hurricane Katrina hit. They were talking about privatizing Social Security. It was going off the rails. So the polling was in the tank, and the Republicans all said, well, the Democrats want to redefine marriage. Because that was the only thing that was polling in the 60s and 70s at the time for them. It didn't work because people were having a hard time in the economy. They didn't like that their neighbors and their friends were getting blown up in Iraq. They didn't like how Hurricane Katrina was performing. They wanted Democrats to like figure out how to help them economically. And I could see the same thing happening again in 2026, where Republicans are in the tank economically. They're not talking about affordability. And they come back and they say, well, Democrats want to put boys in your girls' sports. That's going to fall on deaf ears if boomers keep having their kids living with them in their basement. If the Gen Z
they have all the houses.
We got to come up with a solution to that. But like, if people can't put food on the table, if they can't afford to buy a home, if they can't afford a car, they're going to vote for Democrats, regardless if they're giving kids sex changes, because that's what happens.
Well, and in a way, it's whatever is the pressing challenge at that moment. I mean, I think under Biden, stuff got so weird.
Yes.
And then when people saw that Kamala was for taxpayer-funded sex change operations,
for inmates.
For illegal alien inmates, like, it got so crazy. People, I mean, Biden was causing price increases too. But if you confront folks and say, like, the eggs might be 10 cents more, but like they want to, remove like the organs of your child. People start to think about that. Like you said, Trump's been so good on the issue. He's put out these executive orders. He's calmed the waters, I think, a bit. And now people are returning to those economic anxieties that were caused by so much of this spending during the Biden administration. And so that's where I want to take the conversation. We've talked about the social issues and how they impact the mission of your organization. But ultimately, whether people are going to be able to have a family and be prosperous is impacted by whether or not they can afford it these days. And so much of the affordability discussion, to me, is driven around personal debt people have. People are spending so much money to service their own debt. And I am seeing more and more of this type of content online where people are flippantly talking about $60,000, $70,000, $135,000 in personal debt. How did we get here? We will never be able to build wealth if people are constantly making $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 debt payments.
No, it's unsustainable. We've never had this amount of credit card debt. The credit card debt levels are out of control, and that's like trillions of dollars, and that's like the most dangerous type of debt. It's unsecured. It's 16, 18, 25, sometimes higher percent. That is a death knell. Even if it's $10,000 at 22% interest rates is absolutely killer, and it's super tough to get out of it. There's way too much predatory lending in this country. They need to curb back the credit cards, but guess what? That hurts big business. That hurts Apple, right? It's the debt in this country is so bad individually and personally. We're not talking about the $38 trillion that we have for the federal government. It's bad personally. People are financing pizzas.
Yeah.
They're doing these BNPLs or whatever, buy now, pay later things to buy their pizzas. What? That's not prosperity. I don't care what you say. That is not prosperity if you're having to finance your pizza. Pizza's a cheap food. Like, I know that. That's what our family business was. It's a family food. It's literally one $20 pizza when I was growing up, fed 6 people. Probably 4 people now. But it's crazy. It is not sustainable. And on top of that, so I think we're getting crushed by housing, education costs, and I'm not just talking about college tuition. That's crushing us. But I have to pay. It's ungodly. I've got so many kids. I pay $5,000 a month for my kids just to go to school where they'll learn how to read and write and do math. My property taxes in Fairfax County are so high, and these schools can't educate. It's supposed to be one of the top 10 school districts in the country, but only a third of the kids can read at grade level. Only a third can do math at grade level. What the? And they spend $19,000 per pupil in the school district. They should know Greek and Latin at that rate. This is unsustainable. It's not okay, and we have to get out of it. So it's housing, education, and healthcare. Obamacare was a total scam. It was a total fraud. Built into this is that the insurance companies get 20% profits every year. They don't negotiate these rates actually down to the lowest possible rate. It's terrible. So I think those are the top 3 things that, energy prices are getting out of hand. These blue states are I don't know if you heard about these green energy compacts.
Yeah.
Where you have to buy the clean energy and it's 4 times the rate.
How are any of those people elected that said, here's what we're going to do? We're going to all get together and agree that in our entire region, energy is more expensive. Because if any one of us just make energy more expensive, people will go to the surrounding areas. It's like a compact of economic self-mutilation in the American Northeast.
When all of your listeners and viewers, when they hear green energy, they need to stop thinking about the environment and about leaves and grass and, saving the environment. When they hear green energy, they need to think dollars.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's all about. We've created $1 trillion green energy economy with garbage solar panels, garbage windmills that actually don't. They produce more. They produce more carbon to create them.
Yeah, no, they're there to absorb credits.
Yes,
they exist to absorb tax credits.
Yeah.
And it distorts the energy market for regular folks. But I mean, we have seen gas prices certainly lower now than when Joe Biden was in charge of the global economy. Now, I really do think that housing issue you raised is something that a lot of families are dealing with. Do you think that the solution there is this populist proposal to ban entities like BlackRock from being able to buy houses at scale?
I think it's a huge part of it. I think that, well, there's a few things I would do. I would come up with first-time home buyer programs. I would come up with things geared towards the family where you might have like a lower, like an FHA loan, but for families, something along those lines. I would remove the capital gains tax. You said earlier, the boomers are sitting on multiple homes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's incentivize them to help their children buy homes, right? So give them a tax deduction if they help their child with the down payment for their first house. Encourage them to sell their homes by getting rid of capital gains taxes on houses under $1 million.
Well, yeah, it really is true that a lot of boomers feel like they're stuck in their homes because of that, because the tax consequences of leaving would be a lot.
Well, and what's funny, I have one rental property, and we had one in Virginia, and when COVID was happening, I was like, I think things are bad, so we bought a home in Florida. I used a 1031 exchange to avoid paying capital gains taxes. Why don't everyday people who don't have rental properties get to use that too? Our system literally favors landlords over the people that need to buy homes.
Are sounding like Zoran Mamdani.
There's a lot of similarities, right? Because where Zoran Mamdani is right is in diagnosing what Americans and what New Yorkers and people in this country are suffering from. He's crazy on the solutions, but he's right on what people are suffering from. The Democrats do this really good job at listening to people and what they're, except on the trans issue. I don't know where they get that. But when it comes to economic problems, they do such a good job at listening to what people are actually suffering from. But they totally take advantage of them once they get them over.
But there is an elegance to how easy some of the Democrat solutions roll off the tongue, right? Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, I will freeze energy bills. I'm like, oh, well, how come we didn't think of that? Just make it where stuff can't be more expensive. Of course, that creates distortions in the market that collapses inventory that's available for people and ultimately leads to considerably higher prices. I don't hear a lot of Republicans on Capitol Hill speaking to these affordability issues in a compelling way that doesn't sort of sound like a governmental theory lecture. Are there folks you're looking at here and saying, you know what, this is somebody we really need to elevate and listen to when it comes to this affordability crisis?
I really like Ben Klein. I think he speaks in pretty plain.
Virginia Congressman.
Yep, from Virginia 5. I really like Jim Banks. I think Josh Hawley does a good job at talking about economic populism. Eric Schmidt's been doing a good job. I think Missouri has a really good delegation over there. No, we need way more. Right, we need way more. I thought Marjorie Taylor Greene did a good job about talking about the everyday economic concerns of people. Now she's gone. We need way more people that come from normal America. And that's so rare. My dad was a one-term member, and they redrew his lines and gave him a district that was twice as Democratic. He had no college degree. He was literally just a pizza guy with 10 kids at the time. But he knew what people were suffering from. He was in a union for 14 years. He owned a business for 14 years. They kick guys like that out of Congress just to rig the game for their political power in Illinois. It's super frustrating. But I will just tell you, I do think that there are real concerns about doing economic stimulus packages and giving people huge checks to stimulate the economy because the money's all messed up. Right? No one wants to talk about it because, one, monetary policy is boring as hell, and you're really playing with fire. But this easy money policy that we've had for the last 40 years, we have a K-shaped economy.
Yeah.
The rich are getting super rich. The middle class is being eliminated. They're doing terribly. I just read this: the top 10% of Americans with their annual incomes, they accounted for 50% of all spending last year. It was 20 years ago. It was only 30%. It's not sustainable. The rich are getting super wealthy, and they don't care about the rest of us. And if you mess with their game, you're
Is
next.
that why socialism is increasing in popularity
I think
in
that's right.
virtually every poll we see? Just because you've got a lot of people who say, look, I don't really know. I probably couldn't delineate socialism from capitalism, but I know we've had a capitalist system. That capitalist system has screwed me. I don't have any real prospects to gain wealth. So if there's this other thing, I'll give it a shot. Is that the chapter of the book we're in?
It's exactly right. And I forget who said it. I got 8 kids' names to remember, but they said that basically if you distort the money and you mess with the money supply, no one will know what the hell the problem is because it's too complicated to understand, really, and they'll blame everything else. And so, like, right now, people are thinking that our country's failing because of capitalism and because of the free market. No, it's failing because these guys in government are rigging the game with our... People don't realize...
I don't think we have capitalism.
We don't.
I think we have the apparatus of government that wraps around the business model of the people who can sway power in this place. Yep. And that is the worst type of klepto-capitalism you can have even in the category. And are we long away from Republican candidates for office talking about things like universal basic income and
they already are,
and like single payer health care?
I think single payer health care is a ways off, but yeah, I mean this is what happened in Canada. This is what happened all throughout Europe. Like, we are on the same path. We're a little bit delayed. Our system's different. Our country's bigger. It's more diverse in a lot of ways, but it's really bad. And the thing is, money affects the whole economy. If you met the Federal Reserve, what they do, it impacts the whole country. The whole economy isn't. When you change the tax rate, it doesn't actually impact everyone, right? It impacts a group of people, and yeah, maybe that might spread out. But when you affect the dollar and the value of the dollar, you can make everyone's money worth less or more. You can cause inflation and then deflation. Like, it is way too much power for men to be in charge of, right? And I think it's I think it's been a disaster. And you've seen the middle class be eliminated in the 20th century.
Well, they are going to be voting, and that these midterms are coming up, and I think that Republicans are going to be running on the one big beautiful bill. They're going to say, we secured the border. That was a core promise we made. There's not this border crisis. We said we would enforce immigration laws in the interior of the country. We're doing that. We said we would get rid of the crazy transification of everything. Mm-hmm. We've done that, and the economy takes longer because Trump's whole theory on tariff and invest has a gestation period. Mm-hmm. If we were to just drop all tariffs, allow all cheap goods to flow into the country, for a time being, stuff would be cheaper. I mean, everything would be cheaper if you did that. It would have long-term catastrophic impacts on the country, but there would be a sugar high there. The converse of that is tariff, drive the investment, build durable economic foundations. But what I'm concerned about is I don't see Trump getting enough credit for that. I don't see your regular truck driver married to a teacher watching the Saudis announce that they've gone from $600 billion to $1 trillion in investment, saying, "Well, that's going to make my world. That's going to make my life," and that's going to be a hard thing to connect between now and next November.
I agree, and I think you got to do twofold. So I read last week, under Biden, Americans lost $2,900 annually in purchasing power. Prices increased that much more than wages during that time. Under Trump's first 10, 11 months in office, he's gotten $700 of that back. We need to talk about what President Trump's doing to get that $700 back and get back on top, but also remind people, these are Democrats. They took $30,000 annually away from you just last year, right? We also need to remind people, under Biden, mortgage rates increased by 450 basis points. What does 450 basis points mean? It means $1,200 more for your monthly mortgage payment.
Or that credit card.
And the credit cards. It's so bad, and so we need to remind people.
So it's about direction. I mean, what seems to be what you're saying is you have to show people that this is directionally better, and you have to remind them what a sewer fest that was.
Trump gets a lot of grief from like the old guard about when he starts attacking Biden and bringing up what a failure he is. He should never listen to those people. Every day, he should be reminding them about what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats did to our country. You can't stop talking about that. At the same time, you need to talk more about, I didn't know about the $700 until last week. That's crazy. I'm in politics. I should know that. So talk about the damage and the destruction that the Democrats did, because they're going to do it even worse now. Like, we kicked up a hornet's nest, you know, by getting into office. Trump winning and being as aggressive as he did, he has pissed off these Democrats like we've never seen before.
No, they are angry.
They're playing for
voting.
keeps.
We saw in Tennessee, Democrats had strong turnout, though they came short of winning a seat that is a hold for Republicans and a very safe Republican seat. I do think we're going to have to confront that, and we got to get our best team on the field. I heard a critique today from someone who loves President Trump, and they said, "I love President Trump, but I want to see him out in the country more. I want to see less President Trump hanging out with MBS and more President Trump handing out French fries at McDonald's." And by the way, he loves that stuff.
Yes,
he is such an extrovert. He is recharged by his time with folks and out in the country. There are some consultants in this town who will say, "Well, that does motivate the Democrats when he goes out in these places." I think that is where you are. And only with Trump's aggressive campaigning will Republicans be able to meet that enthusiasm.
Well, I agree with that. Getting him across the country will be great for his morale, for our morale, getting that message out. Every time he does those rallies, that's literally tens of thousands of people just from the rally alone that are hearing his latest updates from what he's doing as president. Get him on the campaign trail. But here's the magic about Trump that everyone's discounted, and they really don't understand it. Those rallies are focus groups for him. He pays attention when people cheer. He pays attention when people boo. The whole women's sports thing, he started talking about it because, he's out in Iowa. My mom was there. It was at the Adler Theater in Davenport, Iowa. And he's talking about bringing billions of dollars back to the farmers in Iowa. And there's like a tepid, oh, okay, thank you. And then he's like, "But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get these men that are in girls' sports. Can you believe this? And I'm going to get them out of there." The crowd went wild. And Trump, in the middle of the speech, he's like, "I don't get you people. I'm talking about bringing billions of dollars back, and I get this, oh, thank you. But then when I say get men out of girls' sports, you all lose your minds." These things are focus groups for him. His magic is he listens to us.
No, it's an osmosis effect, right? That is such a good point. I think that when the person I was talking to mentioned this, they were talking about the value of Trump just being in the communities. He always does the local media. There's always the big build-up when he comes, the afterglow of his highlights. But what you actually said is perhaps more prescient because it's about the feedback he receives from people who aren't ever going to be inside the Oval Office with him. And that is so key to, I think, nurturing his exquisite political instincts.
I don't want to touch a third rail here, right? But I kind of do. You think Trump on the campaign trail, is he going to get a huge raucous applause bringing up 15-year car notes and 50-year mortgages?
Yeah.
I don't think he does.
No.
I think he might get boos from that. And that's why we need him on the campaign trail. Get him out of D.C.
What about when he brings up Israel? What will happen then?
I think the base... I think that there's a good portion of the base that's starting to question Israel more, especially young people. But I still think the base is so evangelical that it's they don't really view Israel and America as separate.
So you think that debate that's happening in the Republican Party about our relationship with Israel is largely an online debate? You think it's not one that's...
I think it's largely online. I know I talk to a lot of people. I have town halls all the time, teletown halls, and we open up for questions, and we never get any questions about Israel. And we talk about everything. I mean, we talk about transgender surgeries for kids, everything from that to tax cuts. Israel never comes up. When I go back home in Illinois and Iowa, we have this little Saturday morning breakfast club, the Reagan Breakfast Club, and never brings up Israel.
Why do you think it comes up so much more with young people?
Well, I think that there are these newer influencers that are hot on the right. They're questioning a lot of this stuff. I also think that young people are just more open to asking questions. They see this system that is chewing them up and spitting them out, and they're questioning everything.
anything that has power in that system generates skepticism.
They're questioning the moon landing. These young people, I'll never forget, COVID made a lot of these young people crazy and question everything. Because we all knew we were being lied to about COVID and the shots and all that. I'm not going to say who it is, friend of mine, we got in a huge argument about the moon landing, about whether or not Winston Churchill was the bad guy. And I'm like, what are we debating here? This is all settled. We've been to the moon. The Earth is not round. These young people are going crazy because they're being lied to on fundamental things.
That has to be a COVID thing, right?
I think it's a COVID thing.
Man,
everyone's locked in their homes. They're in these bubbles. They're just scrolling.
Well, and also
Instagram.
Again, just what a wide scale lie it was. How many people bought into it, and that we had to pay all such a collective punishment price for it. The Russia hoax was a crazy lie, but the Russia hoax didn't fundamentally change how America.
No one died alone in the hospital without their family, because of the Russia hoax.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is why it caused such a cultural time of questioning. But look, we're going into these midterms. You've talked about the challenges. I have my perspective on the U.S.-Israel relationship. I think that Netanyahu's damaged it terribly. But I think that it's not the time for the circular firing squad here. If going into this midterm with what we're facing, we want to expose ourselves to a series of regressive purity tests, that will demoralize our base. So I would even say to the pro-Israel crowd, to the crowd that loves Netanyahu, we ought to be on the same team to build stronger families, to build a stronger economy, to work together where we can for peace in the world. Do you think that's achievable with what you see in some of the schisms on the right today?
Yeah, I think so, and I think Trump's the key to that. I think Trump is the key to all this stuff. I think he's the leader of the party, and what he says, people typically listen to, especially if it's on point. We got to get him back on the campaign trail. He's got to do some rallies. Go to Iowa, go to Ohio, go to Florida, go to North Carolina.
And the rallies are great, but I loved the off-the-records he did.
That's when it gets good.
I loved the ice cream cone stop. I loved the, swinging by the McDonald's.
McDonald's was amazing. The garbage truck.
The firehouses and bring pizzas to the guys working. I just think that showed such a charm in Trump. And I think that people would see him interacting with that, and like you say, the feedback he would get. So is it too early to start preparing for the minority? Because there's stuff you got to do in the minority because you don't have the staff. You don't have control of the agenda. And so, in the minority, you have to prepare for an onslaught against the administration from Hakeem Jeffries and Jamie Raskin and AOC. And you got to start digging some trenches if that's where we're going. Are you that pessimistic yet?
No. I'm an eternal optimist. But how I'm handling this is we got to work for the best and prepare for the worst. Right? We cannot get caught on our laurels again. We cannot get caught on our back feet. These Democrats want to kill us.
Well, being caught on our back feet will be, you'll have a bunch of people leave the Trump administration because they were there, they were sunshine patriots, and a bunch of them will be out the door. And then there'll be a need to refresh the hockey line, and then there will be a need to endure this oversight effort that I think will make the January 6th committee look like a patty cake game.
Yeah, no, these guys need to be held accountable. More and more comes out about January 6th and everything that these guys pulled there. It is so crazy what they've gotten away with. And the more you learn, the more you're appalled and angry. And we need to make sure the American people know what happened. Because Trump almost had his whole life ruined over it.
This might be what we were building for. Everything, we have the House, the Senate, we have the Supreme Court, we have the presidency. Every day is incredibly precious. If folks want to follow the work of the American Principles Project and the Terry Schilling Show, please let us know how to do that.
Well, thanks so much, man. I always love talking to you. I learn every time I talk to you, actually. It's just Schilling 1776 across all social media. I promote the Terry Schilling Show all the time on there, so you'll be able to get it. AmericanPrinciplesProject.org. It's my favorite thing I've ever been a part of my entire life. And I ran my dad's campaign. Actually, my dad's campaign was #1. This is #2. It's been an honor and a blessing. We've had so much fun.
Well, thank you, my friend. Look forward to checking back in with you soon. We always love having you on the Matt Gaetz Show as well. And until then, thank you all so much for joining us. Leave us a 5-star review rating. Leave us a review. Let us know if there's somebody you'd like us to talk to. Until then, we'll catch you next time on Anchormen.
Want to see more great videos like this? Click on the link below to subscribe to OAN Live and watch Dan Ball's Real America and The Matt Gaetz Show on Dish Channel 212. Tune in, subscribe, and watch today.